So I was sucking this guy's dick the other day. The words flew out of my mouth and boomeranged back into my ears. And I was standing at a microphone just like this, but in a dirty bar in South Philly in the back room at a stand-up comedy open mic. And I don't think I had ever said this string of words together before. And I don't know what came over me because I did not say my opening line of my set that was all jokes about colonial reenactors. Instead I said I was sucking this guy's dick the other day. I think I just wanted to be in the boys club, in the stand-up comedians, no girls allowed, it is us club. A few months before that, I was at an open mic and I was sitting down waiting my turn, and there was a stand-up comedian on stage, a man. And he used me for crowd work, but he was really just hitting on me. And I felt this tight feeling in my stomach and this rage, and I got really snippy. And even though I had taken improv classes and had that philosophy on life, like, yes, and if someone engages with you, yes, and, I was like, no, shut up. So I responded and made his set really awkward, and then when I went up, my set was really awkward, and then when I sat back down at the table to pay my bill, I looked at the check to see how much I owed for my drinks, and it also said the server's name, and where it said guest, it said Pretty Blonde. And I got so mad. I was like, why didn't it say smart blonde? Why didn't it say funny blondes? And I went home and I just pouted about it. I know there's been research, like when I was in elementary school, there was all this research that said that if you went to an all-girls school as a woman, you would excel in education and be like a strong, independent woman. But I never agreed with that because I was always someone that raised my hand and participated in discussions and wasn't afraid of boys, had lots of guy friends. But I started to do stand-up comedy, and I would sit there feeling really small, really intimidated while all of these people, all of these men were telling jokes around me. And I just lost all of the confidence that I had. But I continued to keep trying. It was something I really wanted to do, and so I would go to these open mics over and over again. So I go to this open mic in South Philly in this dark bar in the back room. And in walks this guy. He's large. I knew who he was, but I had never met him before or seen him before. He goes by a first initial because his name is something terrible like Herman. And I think he just wanted to be like first initial, last name. Sounding cool like Bono, I don't know. And he walked in, his head is cocked up, and because he runs another open mic in town, they put him first on the list, like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So I'm sitting at a table up front because I like to watch the stand-up comedy. I don't like to stare down at the glow of my iPhone to go over my notes. I want to engage with the people and give them the respect that they deserve. So he goes up and he starts telling his jokes, and I immediately disconnect because they're condescending and pompous and not the type of humor that I want. And so I find myself going and looking down at my iPhone until I hear, "Am I right, Toots?" And the word Toots made me tight in my stomach. I gave up the yes and, I went straight for the no, shut up, and I looked up and I was like, what? What did you say? And I don't know what came over me, and he stumbled, and I'm at a point now when I retell this story that anything he said back to me sounds like the adults in Muppet Babies. So I don't really know what our interaction was, but it was like a tennis match or like a ping pong game. They're just shooting back at each other. And I just remember he'd say things to me, I'd be like, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What? And then he'd try something again and fumble, and I just challenge him. And then finally he's like, what's your name, hun? And I say, you'll find out when I get up there in 10 minutes. And everyone in the bar is like, ooh. Like a first grader just said poop in class. And so I get up there, and instead of telling my jokes about wind chimes and mummers and colonial reenactors, I say, so I was sucking this guy's dick the other day. And I didn't have a punchline. I just said those words. And everyone started laughing. It felt like I had won. It felt like I was finally in the club. But then I told my actual jokes, and I felt like shit. I lost all my confidence. I don't even know how people were responding. So it was over, and I ran out of there because I didn't want to find out what would happen next. So the next day, I wake up and I have emails from people that were there like, no one's ever talked back to him before. You were amazing. That was wonderful. And then there was all of this gossip. I got emails from people that weren't even there. I heard what you did. You took him down. It's so great. So I felt like I was in the club, kind of. And then the next time I saw him, he came up to me and apologized and hugged me, and I think I was the first girl he ever hugged. But I decided that I didn't want to be in that club. I wanted to feel good about what I did on stage and tell my jokes about wind chimes because I love my jokes about wind chimes and I just want to be true to myself. Thank you.